Today we'll present the case discussing Nissan resurrecting their Datsun brand. My name is Всеволод, and two other people we're presenting, Yulia and Bernadette. So the case is basically about this Datsun brand. They have decided to invest quite a lot of money, around $400 million, into developing this new line of the Datsun brand, which is a cheaper line, and they're also looking into possibilities of extending it into a green extension. And so far it's been quite, this whole development has been going quite well. And the case is covering the issue of the change management in this situation with the new CEO who is trying to implement this in Indonesia, Russia and India, trying to make this and increase the sales and make the whole campaign as successful as possible.
Question 1, which is how would you approach the implementation of the project? Which change model will you use, and explain the reasons for choosing this change model, and then prepare an action plan. The change model that we chose was the change acceleration process model. This all first starts with the formula, which is quality of technical strategy times acceptance of the strategy is equal to the effectiveness of the change initiative. That's how you can measure the success of the Nissan project to reintroduce the Datsun brand and the Green Line. The model basically has 7 steps, which the leading change and changing systems and structures go simultaneously throughout the project, and most of the other 5 steps can as well be done simultaneously. We chose the change acceleration model because of 4 main reasons. The first, which is because of the formula, Nissan managers can easily measure the success of their introduction of the Datsun product to the Green Line. They can tell whether it's the technical side that's a problem or whether it's the people who do not want this project. For example, referring to the Green Line, they can see whether customers are ready to accept this, if that's what's making the initiative good or bad. The next thing is because of the simultaneous, because the model allows for most of the tasks to be done simultaneously, you save time. They can save time during the initiating of the change model, unlike other models like Kotter's model, where you have to do each step after another one. You cannot miss one step before doing another one. The next thing is flexibility. The company can change their structures and systems to suit the change initiative whenever they want, because the changing of structures and systems have to go together at the same time, simultaneously, so they can change that whenever they want. And finally, there is an emphasis on leadership for the change. This is very important, especially since in the Green Line, we see that in America, most customers are moving more towards fuel guzzling products, and they don't go towards the economically friendly products. So they will need a lot of change leadership to convince these customers to change their behavior, the day-to-day behaviors, like going to the gas station, using a gas car. So they'll need a lot of motivation and encouragement to why they should go to the green cars. Also, they need to train their employees. They probably need to make the employees change their behaviors that they used to, because they need to start learning all over again to make the Datsun cars. So they need to convince them that they need to do this. There may be some resistance with the employees. Okay, so this is our action plan. I'm just going to go through the stages. For example, in the first stage, where the leadership, they are leading change, one of the things they can do is go and scout the leaders in their stakeholders and recruit them as change managers. In creating the shared need, they can have a meeting with the employees and discuss with them about the idea of introducing the Datsun, so that they can come to the needs together and make these needs together with the employees as well. They need to shape the vision. They need to develop and define the mission vision for this project in this stage. They also have to communicate this vision very effectively. They need to mobilize commitment. At this stage, they will carry out the test products, starting with the early adopters and then down to the laggards. And then they will need to make the change last by training, by announcing the wins, and then monitoring the progress and changing the system structures. They have meetings for feedback, and they can adjust the structures according to where it's adjustable, where it's needed. Now we're going to go to question 2, which is concerned about the stakeholders of Nissan and how to create a good communication plan in order to communicate with them about the change initiative about introducing the Datsun. I'm going to just list a few examples of stakeholders, for example, the line managers, the top management, the customers, the suppliers, the distributors, and these are the people that this communication plan is going to be targeting. The communication plan, for example, here are the goals, here are the tools, and how many times they need to do it. They need to inform customers and their other stakeholders about this project. That's the first thing they need to do. They can do this through a meeting or a press conference. They need to encourage leadership by example. They can do this by sending memos to their top management constantly to remind them about the behavior that is expected to them. They need to remind constantly as well their stakeholders about the vision and the need for this change project so that they can always remember why you're doing this. They can do this by using YouTube videos placed in front of videos that is mostly watched by the target market, sending internal memos or sending emails to their employees constantly. And they can announce their wins. They need to announce their wins as well to encourage motivation for this, so that they can follow through, can encourage follow through, and they can do this by press conference, emails, and meetings as well. And that, we're done with question 2, we're going to pass it on to question 4.
Here we'll start discussing one of the questions. It talks about how the firm and the new CEO are handling the resistance coming from the customers. And the question is, who do you think most of the resistance would come from? And we believe that the resistance would come mostly from the middle-aged customers who have quite good income, because they are already used to the old-fashioned luxurious line, and now that the new line is being created, which is not so expensive, and that's why their status will kind of diminish because of the newly created line. And the question is, the solution of this resistance. We believe that one of the main solutions could be to divide into 2 different lines. One is the one that have already invested around 400 million and they're just going on with it. And another line they will create for people who are willing to pay more, a more luxurious line. And next we're showing the action plan. One covering the products and possible R&D costs. Of course, creating 2 different lines instead of one will create lots of costs for the company, but it will work well in the long run. And what we also propose in the action plan in terms of marketing, promotion and targeting is to create these 2 different lines and also make sure that these lines are green lines. One is more expensive for the loyal customers who are ready to pay more, who would be mostly in developed countries because their financial means are higher, and another is most probably from developing countries, such as the ones they've already been targeting, which is Russia, India, and Indonesia. So in that sense, they will need to spend more on R&D and marketing, because they'll create one more line, green line of Datsun cars that's more expensive, and at the same moment they'll ensure that in the long run, in the short run it will be very costly, but in the long run they'll make sure that the customers they have right now, their loyal customers who are already paying more, are good. And they'll also ensure that the customers, the new ones, who don't have the financial means to pay more, but who are yet willing to pay a little bit more for the cheaper green version, that they'll still be paying. So it means that in the long run, our action plan will most probably work because it's a good solution. It will eventually increase the sales of the company and ensure good image of the company.
I'll try to describe the values and beliefs of CEO of Nissan that helped him to succeed and to become the very successful leader. First of all, he understood that people working for the company are the main resource of the company. So if he keeps asking for their suggestions, for their solutions, for their opinions, so then he will succeed. So he empowered all of his employees and made them think of what are the possible solutions to all the problems of Nissan. He created cross-functional teams and gave them the value to do everything possible, to come up with every solution possible that should not be implemented at that time, and make them just think. So they came up with different solutions. Some of them were very creative, some of them were impossible to achieve, but still they came up with them. At the same time, he understood the importance of communicating values and beliefs of the company to every layer of employees. That's what he did. At the same time, he was a democratic, people-oriented leader, and he communicated to everyone who was working in his company. So every worker liked him and knew him. One of the weaknesses of his leadership style was the belief that every means are good for the achievement of the goal. So while working in Japan, he laid off lots of managers and lots of top managers. That's what could cause lots of resistance from every layer of employees, but it didn't happen. But it can be considered as a weakness.